Rock isn't dead. It's in flux.
Hi, everyone. I'm Britt with Rock and Flux, and I am joined today by Jack and Todd from Mouth Culture. Guys, thank you for being with me here today.
Hey, Brett. Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
So, first things first, I've already said your names, but can you each say your name and what you do in the band?
Yeah, I'm Todd and I play bass.
And I'm Jack and I sing. And Mason, there's many of you on the call, but something came up which we apologise for. There's only 3 of us, but you got most of us.
Hey, you know what? Over 50%, I'll take it. So can you kind of give me some background about Mouth Culture? You guys started in what, 2019? And could you maybe just tell me how you all kind of formed and then how you've gotten up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, well, it starts with you because I came in later on, didn't I?
Yeah, so me and Mason and I actually, so Mouth Culture, there was 5 of us originally. And we kind of all met through the scene. Mason and his cousin Jacob, they'd been playing together all their lives. So they obviously had a really good connection. Then they went to college with Chris. They met through that. They kind of grew up in bands together. And then I was part of the same local scene, but I was kind of part of something else. I was doing other projects, didn't really know them. And then it's weird, like kind of once it had all, I don't know, not like I could give up on it, but I was a bit miffed with music and I wasn't really like happy with how fast like things were going for myself. And I don't know, I just kind of lost the passion for it and I lost the love. And then music's a weird thing, innit? Because it always comes back to you. You can try and hide from it, but you've always got to like scratch the itch kind of thing. And then I think Mace knew that and he messaged me and said like, come on, we're gonna do this. Like I've got a good band together and like we just give it another chance. And then literally like the last chance I thought was probably just gonna be like, all right, we'll see how this goes. It's turned into something massive, like it's like the biggest part of all our lives, isn't it? Like right now we've been doing it, like I say, since 2019, which doesn't sound long, but we knew that we wanted to make it our one and only passion, wasn't it? Like
Yeah, I think it was, well, obviously to go back to the original question because I know we've diverted a little bit.
Yeah.
I joined in 20.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry,
No, I was getting to that.
Sorry, no, I didn't know if you were trying to develop the point.
No.
But yeah, Jack was actually my boss at one point. And then after it was my new job, and then about maybe 3 months in, we moved in together. And then I was like helping him like write music because he just joined.
Yeah, we like just started with Mace and Jacob and Chris, and then
there's like a load of instrumentals like thrown over to you just to sort of get the project rolling. And then
we'd sit there in the lounge, weren't we, trying to like write stuff, and he'd help me do the vocals. And eventually it was a case that we didn't have a bassist, and Todd actually only played guitar at the time and sang. So I said to him, look, would you fancy picking a bass up and like join it? And then he jumped at it, didn't you? And then we all moved in with one another as a full band. We all moved into one big house because we just thought if we're going to do this, then we need to be like just on it at all times. Like anybody in the band or like trying to do music knows like you just got to throw like every single minute at it to even compete these days. You know what I mean? So we all knew something that we all wanted to do.
Do y'all get tired of each other if you live together?
Well, yeah, we do. I mean, we're more than
brothers.
Yeah, we are like, it's like family now, really.
Yeah.
We don't really have a separation from it, so it's just Mouth Culture is pretty much like all of our lives. So
it's like one of them. Don't get me wrong. Like sometimes we like any like dysfunctional family. Do you know what I mean? Like some days, like you say, we might have had enough of one another, but I think we're pretty lucky because we're all close enough to. Yeah, sometimes we let it build up or whatever, but you best believe it. Normally it comes out and we can like chat about things and
normally have like a fat argument and then we don't talk for a day and then we go back and talk about it. That's like our process.
Yeah, we're just like brothers.
Sometimes you need that space, I guess, like because you don't have a separation, your own time to the band sort of. So
I think it's important though in a band to feel like you all are family.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Like,
There's
it's
nothing that can come between us now, is there really? Like, we've
nah.
gone through the ringer and with loads of shit. So
Yeah, so like just like we were saying, there was 5 of us originally for the first few years, and then us. It was what, like a year and was it a year ago? A year and a
about
bit.
a year and a bit ago.
The last year's just like it's been crazy. So like I say, Jacob decided that he didn't want to go forward anymore with it. And decided to move out, and then it was the same with Chris. He didn't want it anymore, decided to move out, and for the 3 of us, that was a huge thing. You know, like something that we've all invested so much time into, and like we say, we've it's not a sacrifice living with each other, but it is hard, and it's like it's a decision that we all made, and we knew that it'd have sacrifices. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there was a point like a year ago, the 3 of us were sat around like, fuck, like what we're gonna do? Yeah,
because we'd basically lost our producer and our drummer.
yeah. So we were self-produced at that point as well. Yeah, we'd never even been in like another studio. We'd just done everything ourselves. So then we just, rather than like even come up with the plan, I think we all just said like, we don't want to stop. We all want to do it, and we're willing to just figure out a way of making this work. And then we'd actually just finished writing an EP at the time when they left. And then that kind of just remained stale in our heads, and we didn't want to put it out because it was just like, do you know what I mean? It seemed wrong, like when 2 people that were part of writing it were just like not part of it anymore. We were like, want to do something for ourselves, and something that it's just us 3 that have worked on. And we kind of just sat there and wrote like an EP without realizing it. There was different points throughout the months when people were moving out, and I don't know, there was loads of stuff going on, like other personal stuff, and family stuff, and it was a really tough year. So
That was actually a question I was going to ask too. Is that part of why you all, because you were releasing singles until about 2021? Is that part of why that was? Is because just the lineup changes?
Well, the first one we put out these days, so the first body of work was all the original members who were talking about. So the 2 members that had left last year. So that was, we're basically put all the time and effort into writing the new EP, which we then sort of pause on.
So what made you decide to not, like, because it was from 2019 until 2021, you were basically just kind of releasing singles. Was that just because you hadn't, where it was just trying to gain momentum at that point? Like, what made you decide to put the mixtape together?
it was COVID, wasn't it? I think we'd gone through COVID, and before that point, we wanted to go out and tour and stuff, but we never had a body of work. And COVID kind of was a blessing for us because we were about to go out and I think do things the wrong way, and then COVID stopped us from doing that. I know it seems funny, but like it was, wasn't it? Like you think we didn't have we didn't know what we know now, and it's like anything in it.
I think it was just the case. It felt like the right time for that
Yeah.
first body of work. Like when you say you're putting singles out, you're almost like teasing at what your sound is, what you could be going, and then we felt that we'd expressed ourselves enough to then refine. Well, I say refine it because these days mixtape's quite eclectic, really, isn't it? There's a lot going on in a sense of style. So it was more
Some like psychedelic elements.
yes, exactly. That's what I mean. So certain elements is like we can almost base the response of that, like what people like, what we think sounds good, what's been well responded, etc. And it was like establishing ourselves in the body of work, but also seeing where we could go as well. And I think with our latest release with the Mishaps in my mid-20s, that was more of a refined piece, but still has that level of flexibility and like, oh, they're putting a ballad with like a punk raging song. Do you know what I mean? So we like to have diversity in what we do, and not sort of like refine ourselves just to having a single sound of like has to sound like this. And there is that element where you have to have stylistically links, but I think Jack's voice does that for us a lot of the time.
Well, a lot of bands these days are doing that though. Like I think it's really good at the minute because you can be in a band and you're not expected as much to stay in one lane anymore. You can kind of like bands like Brim Your Eyes, and they're at the front of it. Do you know what I mean? They're, like each month they come out with something else, and you think, fucking hell, how have they done it again? Like it's so different from the last thing, but it's still them. So
Yeah,
It's really cool.
Do you think that technology kind of helps with that now? Like some of the capabilities that we have? Or also I think maybe social media and the easy access to all different kinds of music with, streaming and stuff. Cause I do feel like I think everybody listens to a mixture of things, which is also like from an audience perspective, there's more of an openness.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But then again, at the same time, it's like there's just access to absolutely everything, isn't there now? Like I've seen people used to have a passion for finding new music, whereas now because it's there, isn't it, for people? If they just have to click a button on their phone and they can be introduced to like thousands of new artists, and
yeah.
it's
I think it's still because it's oversaturated as well, though. It's like, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
It's good and bad.
But yeah, it's good
Yeah.
and bad because it's like you want everyone to have a creative output if they want to make music, put music out. But at the same time,
But there's a lot to sift through.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of it makes people hunt for that authenticity almost, because anyone can download like Logic and put a few loops together and then put auto-tune on the voice and sing over it. That is essentially what you can do for a song, but people don't resonate with that, and I think that's what people are looking for nowadays, is that real music that you can tell someone has put time and effort into.
So let me ask you this then. If someone came to you and said, you're in this band, Mouth Culture, I've never listened to you all before, and they ask what song you suggest them to start listening to, what do you think you'd suggest?
Short Bait, because it's the latest one.
Easy does it, easy go. Watch the sharks out by the bow. Queuing out the door, don't say I never warned you. Got the people chasing after all of the numbers. I don't need a slice, honey, think I'll take the quarter. Put it in your water, you putting in. Cause piece by piece they're taking over. They just wanna hold you till you go nowhere. When you got the secret
No,
It's a good one. I probably would say Johnny.
depends. Am I allowed to ask them what kind of music they listened to before? Because that's the thing, like we've got stuff.
Because it's so stylistically different.
Yeah, some stuff appeals to like heavier audiences. Some stuff's like people say it's like a lot more indie rock. It's
Because you do. You have the grunge elements and like the alt rock, but you have like some of that psychedelic stuff in there too. I guess if somebody asked me, I would probably say Shark Bait, just because I think there's a little bit of everything in that song in some ways, and it is really catchy. So I feel like it's a good starting point if you need an outside opinion.
yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah, we'll take it.
It
We'll
was
be here all day.
Shark Bait or don't pull up. Yeah, we could actually chew your ears off with this.
What made you, so that's off your latest album, well, your first official album, because before that was singles and then the EP.
It's an EP. It's been an error. Yeah,
It is an EP.
It is an EP, and it was meant to go out.
But we know it says album on
I'm
Spotify,
corrected.
but you aren't actually wrong.
It does. It does. But what I like the title of it, Mishaps of My Mid-20s. What inspired the name of that?
Well, we were talking about just the general stuff that was on the EP. Yeah. It was we were outside in the garden just chilling, and we sat around, and I actually just said something about along the lines of like, it's just like all the mishaps of the mid-20s.
Yeah. It was in passing conversation. We all
It was
just
kind of one of them eureka moments where we were like,
well, that sounds catchy.
that could be it. And then we never looked back.
Well, it's also really relatable.
Yeah. Well, we actually said that, and then we wrote the song after, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, we actually had a song in its place. So the song that we actually chose to name the whole project after, like it was the last one to write, weren't it? It weren't even going to be on it. It was going to be something else.
No, second last one. Shark Bait was the last one because wait for studio. But yeah, Mishaps, we wrote Mishaps around the title. So we came up with the Mishaps in Mid-20s as the EP name. And we wrote the title track. Yeah, on that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good concept.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for Shark Bait? But what's the inspiration for that song? I mean, the lyrics are interesting. I feel like, and I wanted to ask you all about this because it feels like, and I don't know if this is an English thing, but some of your lyrics are almost antagonistic, like purposely antagonistic in some ways. Not in a bad way. It's playful, and it's you're also trying to provoke in some ways. Is that purposeful? And then where did the Shark Bait come from?
I think we always say when we're writing, because sometimes with styles we write, it can sound American sometimes, and we always want to hold on to the British feel of us as a band, of us as people when we're talking to each other. So how we talk to each other, we want to relay that in the songs as well.
Yeah.
So that can be sometimes where that sort of attitude and stuff comes across in it.
Like, we're from the Midlands in the UK. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's not.
We're from the Midlands.
Yeah, but it's like, but you wouldn't want to hear me sing like. Do you know what I mean? If I sang the way I talk, put money on it, we wouldn't have the same fan base.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
It'll be cool.
I think it comes down to stuff like we grew up listening to. Do you know what I mean? And you take your influences, but like Todd said, I think it's very easy for bands kind of in the scene sometimes to just slip into like, oh, what they think it should sound like, or whatever. And I'll say sometimes we do. I'm like, I can't sing that like that. It doesn't sound like me. You know what I mean? It might sound great, but then you've got to make it your own. And we just want that authenticity that someone can listen to a song and say, that's mouth culture. They're not going to be like, oh, is that blah, 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 blah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And Shark Bait.
And Shark Bait
was about our old manager.
Wow, he just came out and said,
oh shit, I'll say it.
we won't go into too much detail, but we had.
It happens.
If you actually know all the details, one day we will. It's quite clever. There's a few very slight digs in there and stuff, but we just. So that was it. So right the week before we were going to the studio, the final studio session for the EP, we had 3 more songs to record, and there was one song out of those 3 that we just weren't dead happy with. Like, it was like, shall we pick it? Shall we not? And then that same week, we'd just been, excuse my French, but fucked over by someone, and it was a big thing for us. We're a small band. We've not got a lot. Everything we do have, we put into this. And the music industry is a horrible place sometimes for artists. And we learned that the week before we went to the studio.
Hardest way.
We learned the hardest way. And we just thought, you know what? Let's fucking use it as fuel. The boys had wrote the instrumental, well, like most of it, the idea. I just wanted to vent, really. I just wanted to vent about the whole fucking industry and just how I felt in the moment. Do you know what I mean? And it turned out all right, didn't it?
Yeah. But that's pretty much like the whole.
Yeah, it's great.
Like the Shark Bait is essentially us, and the sharks are the people in the industry who just try and take what you give and, like, I don't know.
I think it resonates with people because it's like we are quite subtle about stuff sometimes, and it's people like it could well easily apply to somebody's like day job. Do you know what I mean, or their relationship with family members, or.
No, I think that totally makes sense. And I mean, it's a great song. That's actually how I found you all, was that one first. Cause I think I found you on, honestly, Instagram first. Because, and actually this goes to my next question, I follow Teenage Wrist and you all had toured with them recently. So tell me how that came up and how that tour went.
That's sick, wasn't it?
Yeah. Those
Marshall and Anthony, shout out.
like unbelievable musicians, like, and just sick.
I think that
it was
like we've had a few really cool opportunities in the last year, but that was one of the highlights of last year for us. It was a weird one because I used to listen to I've listened to Teenage Wrist for a few years, and like Mace hadn't had it. You'd had a little bit, but not too much. Then when we went on the tour, Mason pretty much like discovered his new favourite band. It was really nice to watch, and each night to get to see songs that we all loved. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't get old. They were the nicest guys ever as well. Like, we learned a lot from them. just little things, wasn't it? Like
Yeah, just like you kind of take things on
their
board,
attitude towards
yeah.
stuff was. It's quite easy for bands to just think they're the shit. Do you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't owe us anything. Do you know what I mean? They don't know us. We're just a small little English bands, like just jumping on the tour for the UK days. But those guys and Perish, they were like, by the end of the tour, we were like,
Parish's merch.
"Whee!" Yeah, by the end of the tour, it was like, actually, we were all really sad that we had to leave them. But hopefully we get to do something when we get to.
But you could say like no one owes you anything, but no one owes anybody anything, and I think in life, especially if you have like gotten more successful in something that's hard to get success in, I think it's good to be open to new and upcoming bands. And essentially like you're all musicians are in that together. You know what I mean? Like there is certainly, like, yes, there could be varying levels of success and things like that, but they were once trying to come up too. You know what I mean? And I think it's important and also more respectful of when bands like don't forget that, So I always am happy to hear when it's more, that people are accepting.
It's really cool because they've been doing it for a while. Do you know what I mean? Like but then even for those guys, like coming over to the UK and having that many people, like seeing Oslo in London packed, like I think it blew their minds as well. And we were like, whoa.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just all around just a really nice tour, wasn't it?
Yeah. Felt just like I think it just felt really professional, but also
At ease.
personal
Yeah.
as well. In a
Yeah.
way.
Cool moment.
That's a good mix. Yeah. Do you all think you'll ever come over to the States to play?
Oh yeah. Yeah. As soon as we get the chance, we're going.
We're literally like, so we actually signed with an American label, In Vogue Records. Shout out.
Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio. But I think we know we could appeal in America. It's obviously hard being a British band because when you look at the size of the UK and you look at the USA, you realise how small we are. Do you know what I mean?
Pretty sure our second
And
biggest thing on.
we moan about driving around the UK to tour. But
Yeah.
when you're in America, you're going like days between. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of logistical things to get us over there and visas and whatnot. But we have it is a goal, and we're hoping. You never know. Hopefully, I'd like to think that by the end of this year, or the end of this year, we're talking about.
I mean, I can tell you that Americans love a foreign band. Anyone in Europe or from different places, we automatically find you more interesting than if you're an American. So I mean, you have that going for you too,
It's the same here when we get we had Beautiful Dropout come over, didn't we? And after the show, we opened up for them, and afterwards we've been speaking to them for a couple of years before that, but we were just watching like people gushing over.
Yeah.
We practically were too, weren't we? We were like,
Yeah.
It was the really cool.
I think it's cool as well. Like with Americans, like the energy is different. Like when you have an American person in a room with English people, it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone's like drawn to them in a sense of like
Really?
as to famous.
I think British
It's
people
weird.
are just quite moody without or like grumpy or just.
I don't know, like that's surprising for me to hear because like everything that we, I guess pop culture wise, what we're told is that like Americans are not liked in other places. So it's kind of like interesting. It's nice to hear that because it feels like we're,
Maybe Tom.
I think it depends on the person. If the person's coming in and they're obnoxious and whatever, everyone's going to think who is this guy or whatever. But from a neutral standpoint, say if we were in a room, right, and then we're like, you came in backstage and started talking and someone heard your accent, they'd be like, who's that? Like, just because you're American rather than it's just one of them, I don't know. Unless you come in with like a Sheffield accent.
It always is interesting to me also that we have an accent because I always think that Americans got gypped on our accent, and like I prefer like a British accent or other accents because it's more interesting to me. But so that's other people have said that too. It's always interesting when I hear people talk about what they think about the American accent because I think it's boring.
Yeah, I know. I like it. Keeps me intrigued.
I like it, but there's American people who always grate somebody.
Yeah, it's just general voices, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Well, yeah, because there's different dialects, I guess, so to speak. Yeah, depending on where you are.
yeah.
But it's the same thing with the UK, isn't it? Like depending on the area that you are, your accent could be slightly different, you know?
You can go from here, right? It's about 45-minute drive, and you go from sounding like this to sounding like, oh, but on me, I'll sound like this.
You're about to get some
Do you know what I mean?
accents now.
So
It's like the more north you go, the harder it is to understand. But I don't know, we're in the middle where we live. So it's weird because when we're up north for a bit, you come back with a bit of a twang, and people are they assume we're from there. Yeah. But then it's the same when you're down south.
Yeah, if you all play here, you'll see, like, as you go down the East Coast, the accents will change, and then as you come out west, it'll change.
should we just enhance our British accent when we come over? Well, hello,
We're gonna
hello, everyone.
we're gonna a few grand.
Oliver, just thinking Oliver Twin.
You've only got
That's pretty funny.
You sounded like an American trying to be British.
Who's ready for a gig then?
We're gonna stop talking right there.
So what are your goals for 2024 then? What are you all doing next? You released the album or the EP, I'm sorry, in November of last year. So I mean it's fairly recent. So like what are your plans? Are you planning on more live shows? Are you working on new music? What are your plans for 2024?
We've got a UK tour, a mishap tour with like 16 dates on it. That's in about a month's time. We're going out on that. That's a big thing for us. We're selling out dates all over the UK, which is crazy for us because we've only ever like sold out a hometown show. Now we're doing it nationwide, which is fucking unreal. And then I'd hope that if we get to step off British soil this year and play some music, that'd be cool. I think whether we go Europe or the States, if we got the opportunity, it'd be great. I think another big thing for us is festivals. We've already announced a few, but yeah, there's stuff in the works and whatnot, and we're really excited to finally get to play like the songs we've wanted to play at festivals for a couple of years now.
Yeah, and we're in talks with a really cool booking agent, which is gonna like skyrocket things for us. So we're really excited to get that ball moving.
Well, because I mean that's huge. You know, having a booking agent.
Yeah, we've not had one up to now, which shocks people. But we don't now. But we have been. We won't go into any details, but we've just been talking to someone that, for a band at our level, it's a very big deal, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, that it brings us the opportunities that we think it will.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, because honestly, that's really how bands are made, is the live setting, and then like, you know, merch and all that kind of stuff. Like that's where you all have the opportunity to really grow from an audience perspective, and even financially anymore. Like it's tough for musicians. So
yeah,
we know that.
We know about
yeah.
And I mean, you know, speaking of that, how do you all define success for yourselves? What are the moments that you're like, wow, like this is really cool and we're really doing this?
I think when we can just get up and say, when we go in the studio, that this is what.
Whenever we don't have to go to our day job.
Literally
for us, it's pretty like.
Obviously, we have big aspirations on the sort of venues we want to play, what we do with our music and stuff. But I think from a personal point of view, in a sense of just comfortability and like just having good mental health, it's just within music, because it's where we want to work for us, because essentially when it comes to work, we only trust each other, really, innit?
Yeah.
So I don't trust people who are in big businesses. I don't want to be in that sort of environment. So yeah, as soon as we can get out of that and just run our own ship, I think I'll be content.
Yeah.
Is that your biggest motivation, do you think?
At the minute,
Good question. Probably, yeah. I'd say at the minute it is, on the basis that getting up every day to go to our 9 to 5s is something that's so prevalent, because it's just every day, and it's, if we don't do it, we can't afford to live. And then if we can't afford to live, we can't afford to do the band. So it's a necessity.
Well, yeah, we're at this point now where we've got fans on the Discord saying like, you guys should start a Patreon, like you want that, because they know what we do. We chat to them all day, every day. They know that it's tough and stuff like that, and they're always trying to help us out. But I think that's our goal, and I think as long as our biggest aspiration would be that we don't have to have a day job, and we can make this our day job. That's for me personally. That's what it's always.
Benefits the whole thing. It means we have more
Yeah.
time to do the music, more
Yeah,
time
like-
to do better content, more time to
Yeah.
do better videos. Everything is enhanced as soon as we get
Yeah.
it all the time.
But you know, like it's fucking worst period of time to ever.
Yes, cost of living.
So what is like, because you just said you have Discord, what do you think is the most useful tool to bands today that are in your position trying to come up? Is it Discord? Is it other social media platforms? Like, what do you think is the most useful thing that you have?
Learn to play your songs as well as you can play them on a record. That for me is it. I think have the music to back everything you're putting out online. It's not special anymore. Anyone can do video editing on stuff like that. It's like, like some bands are getting like 1 million follows and streaming shit, and they've never played a show, which I haven't got a problem with. But like, I think there's plenty of bands that can't play the music and stuff like that they're probably putting out, or they find it hard.
I think everything gives you a shortcut nowadays, and and it's essentially, I think if you want to be a seasoned musician and a successful, like with longevity of it, I think you need to put in the groundwork and play those shows to 3 people like we've done it. We've gone on what day was it, like a Friday.
Still doing it.
Gone to Newcastle, drove 4 hours, and then played for 4 people, and then drove 4 hours home and have work the next day. And it's demoralizing sometimes, if I'm honest, but it's like,
But
it's a necessity. Like, it's character building.
Yeah.
It's like, it shows you who you are as a person, who you are as a musician. So I think that, I think as soon as you have that in you, you don't doubt yourself in certain situations, because you'll get to a point, if you take shortcuts, that you will be faced with something that you ain't ready for, and then you've got to deal with it there again. And I think some people can crumble at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure from your perspective, well, and it's also like, you as a musician, it's probably not easy to, but you still would want to play with the same energy to 4 people that you would to 100,000 people, you know?
That is what makes you, like, I know that's just repeating what you just said, but it really is. Like, even that exact example that Todd's using, like, we played a show in Newcastle last year to 4 people, so much so that one of the girls came up to us after and apologized, said, like, this is crap, like, you don't deserve this, you deserve so much more. But we were like, we've never been here before. What you like? We're nothing. Do you know what I mean? We are nothing, and it's easy now because people think we've got the internet. Everyone should know about you, but no, you still should go to these cities and you start building relationships in person, and you put that work in. You put a show on. We played to 4 people last year. This year we've just sold it out the same venue, haven't we, to play it in a month's time. And it's the second time we go back, but it's crazy how shit changes. But
it just shows you the groundwork we put in.
But we put that groundwork in last year, and we played as many fucking shows as we possibly could. We were offered shows that some bands probably would be like, nah, I ain't doing that. We were like, fuck that. There's going to be fucking 1,000 people walking through there that day. Let's go.
Yeah.
And you best believe, like, we made fans through it.
I think that level of work ethic is what makes the difference, though. But the work ethic comes because you all care about it and want, like, you're motivated to do that and you love it. And that is the difference, because you don't want to ever think you're too good for something. If you love doing it, you love doing it, you know?
Yeah. And I think the thing is, it's two sort of sides as well, because I think you can be motivated, but you can also be entitled as well, because of the availability. That you can be like, I know some people are probably like, yeah, fucking, and I know they really want to do it, but they won't. They think doing something will be like, oh no, that's beneath me, I can't do that, or I shouldn't be doing that at this stage, or whatever it may be. And no one really is like above anything, really.
Just do it and have other people tell you that you should.
All the people who say
you should
be doing that.
Yeah, you should be playing this. Like, it's 1,000, but to put the work in.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah,
to keep crafting.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the funnel questions that I have for you all today, and I ask everybody who comes on this show, the concept really comes from, there's this saying nowadays that like rock is dead and people don't value that type of music, which I don't necessarily agree with. I just think it's forever changing. So I'd be curious to know your opinions on that and how you feel about, people saying that statement.
I think
There's like a new fucking wave of it.
I think that is, but I think pop has become this recycled, saturated place, like especially in like radio. Sometimes where it's like all day on the mainstream is just repeated songs because major labels have links with those places, and it's just sort of a regurgitating thing, and it's just you don't really get locked in with that as a rock artist. So I think, but if you know where to look for, there's thousands of avenues of like different like radio presenters who showcase all these artists, and if you take the time to look, you'll definitely realize that it's not dead.
I strongly disagree. It's not dead. Like you seeing, we've got fans that are like 70, and we've got fans that are like
rock fans are the best fans.
10 years old. Yeah, like sorry, I get vicious.
Rock and roll stuff there. Yeah, I think it's a committed community. I think, whereas pop is more so. I'm not saying all pop because you can't generalize the whole thing, but I'm just saying generally it's more of like a recycled, who's the next artist, who's the next person, whereas rock is like you can't wait for them to put out their next body of work.
I get it though, because there is that factor of rock as well. There's bands out there that it is just that regenerated stuff, isn't it?
Regurgitated stuff, yeah.
But it's just part of anything. There's always going to be imitation, isn't it?
Yeah. There's somebody who genuinely writes something they've never heard the thing this sounds like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and it's just
we've done it before though. Like when we're writing, and I'll say that sounds like that song, and Mason will be like, "Who the fuck's that?" And I'm like,
well, I mean, that is, anymore, it's like, how would you even know? Like, there probably are similarities sometimes, but you may have no idea that even exists necessarily. So,
at the end of the day, I think music's like built up of. I think our music's built up of all our influences, and it's kind of that is a big part of mouth culture, that we just try and put all of our influences into it, and it kind of becomes mouth culture.
Not deliberately, and it's just like we just write.
Well, what are your influences?
Oh gosh, where do we start?
Yeah, wait. I think so. On the guitar side of things, Mason's not here, so I will speak for him. I think growing up, I know he was obsessed with My Chemical Romance. They were his band that like really got him into playing guitar. And Paramore. I think so. The same with me. I was listening to stuff like Yumi at 6 and Death Havana, but then I also loved stuff that was coming over from the States, like Under Oath and the slightly heavier stuff. You were more of an indie guy.
Yeah, I was an indie kid.
It's really cool though, because now like me and Mason will show songs that we used to listen to, and he's like, "This is fucking sick."
Yeah.
So we get to like enjoy it all again.
I think it's just like
cool.
just sort of anyone's gaps.
Yeah.
We just kind of fill, and it's like a nice puzzle that just equals mouth culture, really.
Yeah. But I think new artists, who we've been obsessing with, are we allowed to pull our phone out at this point? I always think
Quarters of Change.
Quarters of Change. You've been banging that.
Yeah. Quarters of Change is sick.
There's
I found a band actually. Don't know why we spend all the time plugging into the band, but here we are.
No.
But I just found out.
Island Soho.
Right,
They're the one I've been obsessing over lately. Sick. That's proper rock and roll.
And there was a band called Fuzzy Sun as well, and I found out that they split up.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I found this EP that was like this album, sorry, and it was unreal. I listened to it back to front, and I was just like, "This is incredible." I was like, "Go find and see what they're doing." Blah blah. And I was like, "Their last post was like 2021 or something." It was like,
that sucks.
Always, because sometimes you go through like a stint of not finding anything, and then when you do, it's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, and then I kill it for myself by listening to it over and over and over again. Well, thank you guys for taking the time. I think it's been great to kind of get to know you and hear more about mouth culture. As an ending point, is there anything that you would want listeners to know that we have not covered about your band?
Please follow us on all socials.
And they can find you Mouth Culture. Yeah.
Culture.
At Mouth culture, and I believe Twitter is X is the only thing that is weird in it still. I think that's the mouth culture. But yeah. At mouth culture.
And you're on all the streaming platforms, and you have videos on YouTube. So check out Mouth Culture if you haven't. And thanks for listening, everyone.
Peace out, guys.
Peace out.
Thanks, guys.